build the most lavish manor, and get visitors to take early tours. But be prepared for the grand tour that's going to impress the public in Dice Manor.
And today we'll be teaching you how to play Dice Manor, game designed by Garrett Herter and published by Arcane Wonders.
And hello everyone, it's Stella.
And Tarrant from the Dice Tower.
Now let's get to the game.
In Dice Manor, players are entrepreneurs who will be trying to spruce up their dowdy old manors into exciting tourist destinations. Players will be competing, rolling dice and bidding to get the best rooms and best advertising. All so that after 4 rounds of bidding, they'll have the most exciting manor to score big in the grand tour and in the end of game majority objectives. Whoever manor has the most prestige over these 5 rounds will be the winner. To set up, each player chooses a colour, takes its entrance tile, dice and markers, as well as 2 double-sided inspiration tokens. Take 2 dice and the wooden markers and move them to the central board. The prestige marker goes at 0 points, the advertising house goes at the start of your advertising track, and the 2 dice go, on any number, on the last 2 steps of that track. The grey house is the round counter. Separate all of the non-starter room tiles by their backs and shuffle them, and place 1 tile face up beneath its matching slot in each of the board's 6 slots. These will be the rooms available for bid in round 1. Choose a first player and you're now ready to play. Dice Manor is played in 4 standard rounds, followed by a special round called the Grand Opening Tour. Each standard round takes place in 4 phases. First is bid, where players take turns to roll dice and then bid them on the rooms and actions they wish to take. Second is collect. Any of the bidding locations are resolved based on who bid the most. Third is build. Players build newly acquired rooms into their manors. And fourth is reset, where you'll set up for the next round. First is the bid phase. This phase is played in turns, starting from the first player and going clockwise around the table. To begin your turn, you must roll all of the dice currently in your supply. Next, you may choose to spend any number of your inspiration tokens. These are double-sided tokens. If you spend one, you can choose to use this side, adjusting the value on any single die up or down by 1. And do note that you can wrap a 6 around into a 1 or vice versa in this way. Or you can spend it for this side, choose any number of the dice that you just rolled, and re-roll them again. Now choose any single number which you've rolled at least once. Here I could choose 1s, 2s or 3s. Whichever number you choose, you must now place all of the dice showing that number onto dice locations. There are 3 possible locations: to bid on a room, to invest in advertising, or to give an early tour to your manor. You may split your chosen dice between any or all of these different locations, but you must spend all of the dice of that number during your turn. To bid on a room, you must spend dice whose number matches the number next to that room. The first time someone bids on a given room, their dice are placed in a row nearest the main board near that room. Whichever set of dice is nearest the main board is always considered to be leading the bid. If any other player bids on the same room and bids either an equal or lower number of dice, then their dice go further away from the main board. They are not yet winning the bid. If a new bid is placed which has strictly more dice than the current leading bid, then it moves to the top of the queue and becomes the new leading bid. Remember that you will take multiple turns in each bid phase, and the first step of each of those turns is to re-roll all of your dice. That means that you may roll that number you've bid again on a future turn. If this happens, you may choose to add more dice to an existing bid. The rules for taking the lead are the same here as if you're making a new bid. Having fewer or the same amount of dice as the current leader gives you nothing. But if after your bid you have strictly more dice than the current leader, you take over the leading position. Only the leader will collect the room in the collect phase, but there will be some consolation for losing bids. The second option for your dice is to bid on advertising. The first time each player bids on advertising for a round, the player may bid any number of dice and dice showing any number. On that player's subsequent turns, the player may add to that bid, but only with other dice showing the same number as the one originally bid. As for the rooms, bids will be ordered based on who has the highest bid. And in this case, there are separate boxes for first place, second place, and the rest. The highest bid will be the bid with the most dice, followed by the one with the highest value on the dice, followed by the one that was placed first. So if this bid were placed, nothing would change. If this bid were placed, then Orange's 6s would now outrank these 4s and 2s and would move to first. If this die were later added, then White's bid would move to first, pushing these ones down. And if Black made this bid, then it would assume second place, pushing both of these bids down into the remaining box. Unlike the room bids, players will gain different advantages based not only on their position, but also on the number of dice bid. But again, that will be resolved in the collect phase. Your third option is to give an early tour of your manor. Now, it's unlikely that you're going to do this until you've built some rooms into your manor. And so let's do that now. When you give a tour to one of these dice, you place the die into the center of a room which doesn't already have a die and which can accommodate that number of die. So this entrance space, for example, can take any number. This one would require a 4. If there are no dice on your manor, then the first die must go onto your entrance tile, and then any subsequent dice must go into a room which is connected by a door to a room which already has a die. The most efficient way to take this action is to place as many dice in an unbroken path at once as you can. Here, for example, I would play these 3 4s. I would like to play the 4th, but I've run out of connected places to put it. Alternatively, with this roll, I could place the dice like so, making either 2 separate paths of 2 or treating it as one path of 3 and another path of 1. For each path of dice that you place, you gain the reward shown on this space of your player aid at the end of your turn. So a path of only 1 die gives you an inspiration token, again at the end of your turn, so you can't spend it this turn to take a longer path. Paths of 2, 3 or 4 dice will grant you 2, 5 or 9 prestige points, which you'll mark on the scoreboard. And any die beyond the 5th will score you an additional 2 prestige. Dice placed on mana spaces remain there until the end of the round. So to recap, on your turn you always re-roll all of your remaining dice. You choose any one number that you've rolled and you must place all of those dice, and you are allowed to split them between different action spaces. If you have no dice remaining when it comes to your turn, then your turn is skipped, and once all players have no dice remaining, you'll move to the collect phase. The collect phase is resolved automatically for each of the 3 types of action spaces. For the rooms, whoever has the winning bid takes that room as well as retrieving their dice. Any losing bids retrieve their dice and gain 1 inspiration token, regardless of the number of dice bid. So here, Black would get the room, and Orange would get the inspiration token, and in this case, Orange would simply take the room. Rooms with no bids are simply discarded from the game. Next, resolve the advertising bid. Whoever had the winning bid advances their advertising marker 2 steps and gains prestige points based on every number crossed. So here it's 2 sets of 3 for 6 points. Whoever had the second bid advances theirs by 1 step, again gaining the points. Each other bidder gains 1 inspiration token. Then all players who made at least 1 bid get to resolve this second lower bonus which is to move the leftmost of these 2 extra dice backwards 1 step per die bid. Here, green would move this die 3 steps backwards, as would white, while black and orange would move them 1. If ever the 2 should meet, then the player gets to retrieve this new bonus die and add it to their pool starting from the following round. Any subsequent die movements are then spent on the remaining die. Through this action, players will be able to build up to as many as 9 dice during the game. After these 2 steps, players retrieve their dice. Finally, retrieve all the dice that you placed on your manor and gain 1 prestige per die. Third is the build phase, which players will resolve simultaneously by placing all of the new rooms that they've purchased into their manors. Tiles may be rotated into any orientation when they're placed, and tiles must be placed adjacent to tiles already present in the manor. Doors must connect to doors and walls must connect to walls, so this would not be a legal placement because of this door-wall connection. And you're not allowed to connect the internal door of any room to the front door of your manor, so this would not be allowed. Other than these rules, there are no restrictions. As you're building your layout, you'll want to give consideration to which numbers are near which other numbers. And when you place these purple, wild-coloured rooms, you'll want to be careful about which other coloured rooms they're connected to, as this will become important once you get to endgame scoring. Finally, reset for the next round. Advance the round marker, hand the first player marker 1 step clockwise, and refill the display of room tiles. The 5th round of the game is the grand opening tour for your manor. Players may resolve turns in this round simultaneously. That is, there is no longer a first player. Your turns resolve much like they did in the first 4 rounds. You'll start by rolling the dice, with the option to spend your inspiration tokens to manipulate those dice, and then again you'll choose all of the dice of a single number and place them. However, the only action you can take with them is to place them in your manor. This follows all of the same rules and grants you all of the same end of turn bonuses as if you'd given an early tour in rounds 1 through 4. If after choosing and possibly placing you don't have enough legal spaces for all of the dice that you chose, again you must place all the dice of a given number, then any leftover dice are placed to the side and are considered unhappy guests. These are now considered out of your pool and you won't roll them again on subsequent turns. Continue taking turns until you've run out of dice, and then score a bonus 3 prestige for every die that did take a tour of your manor. So here, 6 dice, 18 points. Once all players are done, it's time to add end of game scores. You'll gain an increasing number of points if you have all of the different types of rooms in your manor. 4 points if you have 4 different types of room, 9 points if you have 5 different types, or 15 if you have all 6 different types. The player with the largest manor scores 12 points, and the second largest scores 6. This is counted by the total number of rooms, not the number of squares covered by the rooms. So this large room counts equal to these small rooms for the purposes of this count. Note as well that the kitchen dining room tile is 2 rooms on a single tile for the purposes of this count as well. Do the same for the majorities in each of the 4 different colours of room. Whoever has the most of that room will get 12 and second most will get 6. For this count, the purple room counts as if it is 1 room of each colour of any differently coloured rooms connected to it by door. So here it's both a yellow and green room, giving this player 4 yellow rooms and 4 green rooms, while in this case it would count only as a single green room. If multiple players tie for first on any of these, they all score 8 points, with the others scoring 0, and if multiple players tie for second, they all score 4. Finally, score 1 point for every 2 leftover inspiration. The player with the highest score wins. If tied, whoever has the most rooms wins. If still tied, fewest unhappy guests. And if still tied, victory is shared. When playing with 2 players, you'll use a dummy player's dice to make the bidding more competitive. At the start of each of the first 4 rounds before the first player's turn, you'll roll one of the neutral dice and then place it as the neutral player's first bid on the advertising slot. Then before each of the first player's subsequent turns, again roll one of the neutral dice and now place that as part of a bid on the matching number. Unless you roll the neutral player's advertising number, in which case you'll choose advertising over the room. The round ends as soon as both of the players have run out of dice, even if the neutral still has dice remaining. Then, during the collect phase, the only thing you do for the neutral is that if it wins any room bids, you take those rooms and add them to the neutral player's pile. The neutral player gets no other rewards or points and simply blocks up slots in the advertising track. At the end of the game, you'll include the neutral player's pile when evaluating both the largest mana and the colour majorities. Any purple rooms gained by the neutral count only towards largest mana. You can also adjust the game by rolling your dice at the end of your turn instead of the start. This can be done in 2 ways. You can do it secretly, in other words, hide those dice from the other players, and this allows you to think about your turn before it comes up, speeding up the game. Or you could play with these dice being open information, meaning that you can look at the numbers the other players have to help decide what actions you're going to take on your turn. You could still spend inspiration tokens on your turn to change the dice which people expected you to have. And that's how to play Dice Manor.
Thank you so much for watching. Everything you do will help us. Every single view, every time you like the video, let us know if you have any questions and comments, and see you next time. Bye!